latest reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to First Post Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. India says it will resume the beating retreat ceremony, but in a scaled-down version at the Attari-Wagah border crossing, after a brief pause following heightened tensions with Pakistan over the Pahalgam terror attack. Hungary's parliament approves a bill to start a one-year withdrawal from the International Criminal Court, with Prime Minister Orban's government calling the court political. The move follows last month's visit by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, who defied an ICC arrest warrant. Clashes erupt between Sudan's army and the rival paramilitary RSF near the capital Khartoum. The army describes it as part of a large-scale offensive. Explosions were heard in areas where RSF had withdrawn after losing control of the capital in March. Gunmen kill 7 people, including minors, in the Guanajuato, Mexico's most violent state. The attack is linked to ongoing gang warfare that has severely impacted the industrial hub, which also hosts several tourist hotspots. And scientists warn rising sea levels will impose major challenges in the second half of this century, even if global warming is limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius. A new study finds sea levels are rising twice as fast as 30 years ago and could double again by the year 2100. Hello and welcome. Let's start with Africa's regional powerhouse, South Africa. The country is looking to improve deteriorating ties with the US. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has touched down in Washington on a high-stakes diplomatic mission to reset ties with the United States. The visit comes at a time when relations between Pretoria and Washington have sharply deteriorated since Donald Trump took office. Ramaphosa landed on Monday, accompanied by 4 key cabinet ministers, including those for trade, agriculture and foreign affairs. A face-to-face meeting with President Trump at the White House is scheduled for Wednesday. Ramaphosa's main goal is to safeguard South Africa's trade ties with the US and to reframe the economic partnership between the two countries. Ramaphosa's office calls the visit an effort to reset and revitalise bilateral relations. The immediate concerns are Trump's trade tariffs, including a proposed 31% levy on South African imports. Although temporarily paused, these tariffs have sent shockwaves through local industries. South Africa's Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen warns that massive job losses could follow if the tariffs are implemented. At the heart of the trade debate is AGOA, or the African Growth and Opportunity Act. It allows duty-free access for some African exports, but the agreement faces uncertain renewal this September. Steenhuisen says losing AGOA would be devastating for farmers and workers. With unemployment in South Africa hovering around 32%, Ramaphosa is under pressure to deliver economic relief and new jobs. The president is also expected to push back against a controversial narrative rejecting claims of a white genocide in South Africa. The US recently welcomed a group of Afrikaners as refugees, accusing South Africa of subjugating and discriminating against them.
I think that from all evidence, the farmers in South Africa are being treated brutally, and it's been reported and nobody wants to cover it, but they happen to be white, and if they were black, I'd do the exact same thing. And we treat people very well when we see there's a genocide going on. So if it's a genocide, that's terrible, and I happen to believe it could very well be. South Africa's out of control, and it's been out of control for a long time.
Trump's remarks further amplified that white genocide theory that has been widely debunked. Also on Ramaphosa's agenda is a personal invitation to Trump. Ramaphosa will be urging him to attend the G20 summit in Johannesburg this November, an event the US Commander-in-Chief has threatened to skip. For Ramaphosa, this is more than a diplomatic visit. It's an attempt to defend jobs and to reassure investors and reset a strained alliance with one of South Africa's biggest trading partners. Now, for more on this, we have with us Dr. Charles Sinkala, an international relations expert, joining us live from Johannesburg. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for having me.
Now, Doctor, how crucial is this visit for South Africa's trade future, particularly in the context of maintaining AGOA benefits under a protectionist US administration?
This visit is very significant in the sense that it's not only that we look at the South Africa's prejudice in terms of if the relationship can go otherwise, but also we must also consider the United States' relationship with South Africa if the relationship does not go in the way that it's supposed to go. It is very important that when nations such as South America has issues that needs to be ironed out in terms of information for the past couple of months. I think also this visit, also it's a follow-up visit, although the presidency in the United States of America has changed, but we can recall very well that President Cyril Ramaphosa had a very heated meeting with the former President Joe Biden. South Africa had deposited the case against Israel rather than supporting the ones that the United States is supporting. You know, these are differences in terms of also trade wars and trade benefits that has been done, notwithstanding the fact that you've also mentioned AGOA, which not only South Africa benefits, but the United States of America as well benefit equally.
Right. And what impact do you think President Ramaphosa's efforts to counter the white genocide narrative will have on US-South Africa diplomatic relations, especially following the Trump administration's engagement with the Afrikaner group?
Yeah, I think it is very important that the two heads of states of government meet. You know, there has been so much disinformation by those peddlers who would like the two countries to remain at war, at loggerheads, to have diplomatic spat. I think a one-on-one meeting will clarify that South Africa's position has been always a position of a very good arrangement, where they respect the sovereignty of other nations, and as well they respect the importance of having bilateral relationships with the United States of America, to the sense that yes, there have been people who have been saying it's white genocide which has been happening in South Africa. My apologies for that. But also we need to understand that there's just a small section of people who has also clarified that they are not running away from South Africa. It has been internal issues that has been also been discussed at length with especially the Agriculture Minister, John Stetson.
Right. Doctor, thank you very much. We'll leave it there. Thank you for being with us on Firstpost Africa.
Thank you.
Shifting focus to Libya, which, according to some reports, is Trump's new target destination for relocating Gazans. Now, US media is reporting that the Trump administration is planning to permanently relocate up to 1 million Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to Libya. The report, citing US officials, claim the plan is under serious consideration, with discussions already taking place with Libya's leadership. In exchange for resettling Palestinians, Washington may release billions of dollars to Libya in frozen funds that have been blocked in the US for over a decade. However, for now, the US has denied these reports. The US Embassy in Libya has called the reports false. Libya's UN-recognized government of national unity has also refused to relocate Gazans. Now, this is not the first time an African country has been mentioned as a possible destination for displaced Gazans. Earlier this year, President Trump said that he wanted the United States to take control of the Gaza Strip and to resettle its Palestinian population elsewhere. The idea faced strong opposition and global backlash. When Trump first floated this idea after taking office, he suggested that US allies Egypt and Jordan could take in Gaza's population. Both countries rejected the idea, which was widely condemned by Palestinians, Arab states, and the United Nations as an act of ethnic cleansing. In April, Trump stated that Palestinians could be moved around to different countries, adding that plenty of countries would accept them. Since then, the names of Morocco, Sudan, and the disputed Somali territories of Somaliland and Puntland have surfaced as possible options. All of them have publicly denied any involvement or interest. Now, Trump has again reaffirmed his desire to take over Gaza. During a visit to Qatar this week, he declared that Gaza should become a freedom zone and claimed there was nothing left to save.
We're working very hard on Gaza, and Gaza has been a territory of death and destruction for many years. And, I have concepts for Gaza that I think are very good. Make it a freedom zone. Let the United States get involved and make it just a freedom zone. Have a real freedom zone. Because it seems that Gaza, every 10 years it happens and more than that.
Trump's proposals have been widely criticized on legal, ethical, and humanitarian grounds, and similar concerns have been raised about the Libya plan. Libya, still deeply divided and unstable, has been torn between rival administrations since 2014. One UN-recognized, the other military-led. Additionally, reports indicate that the Trump administration has been planning to deport undocumented migrants to Libya. This is a move recently blocked by a U.S. federal judge. While Trump continues to reaffirm his intent to take control of the war-torn strip, so far his relocation plan has failed to gain traction or find willing partners. And now we shift focus to West Africa. A long-running territorial dispute between neighbors, Equatorial Guinea and Gabon, has reached a climax. And the final verdict has sided with Equatorial Guinea. Now, the International Court of Justice, the highest judicial body of the United Nations, has ruled in favor of Equatorial Guinea in a decades-long dispute with Gabon. The two nations have been squabbling for decades over 3 small islands in the oil-rich Gulf of Guinea. Now, these include the island of Mbani and 2 smaller low-lying islets, Cocotier and Conga. They cover just up to 30 hectares and are virtually uninhabited. But the discovery of oil on the islands pitted the neighbors against each other. Both nations began asserting sovereignty over the once insignificant islands. Gabon's forces expelled Equatorial Guinea's military from the islands and established a presence. Yet the dispute never escalated into an armed conflict. Instead, both countries chose a diplomatic path. In 2016, they signed a special agreement to submit the matter to the ICJ. They promised to accept its ruling, whatever the outcome. After years of deliberation, the ICJ has now issued its final and binding verdict. Now, the court has ruled that Equatorial Guinea's claim, based on the 1900 Paris Treaty dividing French and Spanish colonial territories, is legally valid. The court rejected Gabon's main argument that a later treaty, the 1974 Bata Convention, had transferred the islands to Gabon. While the ICJ has resolved multiple territorial disputes before, this case stands out. Unlike many cases brought to the court due to high tensions or armed conflicts, Gabon and Equatorial Guinea approached the court voluntarily and collaboratively. Now, their aim was to find a peaceful and friendly resolution, not to win a political fight. This is also one of the rare African territorial cases taken to the ICJ. Most similar cases involve countries from different continents, or disputes involving major global powers. And few international cases involve such small, uninhabited islands, though rich in strategic value. The case showcases a rare commitment to peaceful, legal resolution on the African continent. Both countries trusted the ICJ's authority and demonstrated a mutual faith in international law. This legally binding mechanism, choosing law over force, is still uncommon in many regional disputes. Could this model set a new standard for how African nations and others resolve territorial tensions in the future? The extremists' playbook in Nigeria just got an upgrade, and this time it comes with Wi-Fi, ring lights, and TikTok filters. In what security experts are calling a digital propaganda makeover, extremists in northeastern Nigeria, including terrorists of Boko Haram, are turning to TikTok to broadcast their violent ideology, recruit young followers, and to show off their AK-47s like its influencer content. In April alone, over 100 people were killed in extremist attacks in Borno State. It is the epicenter of Nigeria's 15-year-long insurgency. But while bullets were flying offline, extremists were busy going live on TikTok. But what is their content? It's a mashup of anti-Western rants, calls to arms, nostalgic clips of Boko Haram's founder, because apparently extremists enjoy a hashtag Throwback Thursday. The vibe is worryingly reminiscent of the early days of Boko Haram's rise under its now deceased leader, Abubakar Sekau. Now, except this time, it comes with TikTok's digital gifts feature, which can be turned into actual money. Yes, people are tipping jihadists on TikTok. Bulama Bukarti of Bridgeway Foundation, which is dedicated to ending and preventing mass atrocities around the world, says that it started with bandits and now the jihadists are hosting full-on TikTok shows, preaching violence and threatening critics. Bukarti himself was targeted in a now-deleted video. And while TikTok says it's actively removing extremist content, many accounts are still being operated in plain sight. 19 of them reportedly feature men in clerical garb, openly calling for violence, and some even teaming up with other influencers in joint live streams. Collab culture at its most sinister. Security analysts say that this isn't accidental. Boko Haram and its more social media savvy rival, the Islamic State West Africa province, know where to find the next generation online. Experts say they're reaching the youth by speaking their language. Looks like they have ditched the dull speeches and are going straight for virality. And it's reportedly working. Now, these digital extremists are connecting with viewers, answering questions and receiving real-time support, both emotional and financial. Meanwhile, their barefaced live streams send another message. They are not hiding. Experts say they want people to know they are real, bold, and unafraid. TikTok, for its part, insists it's not a haven for extremism. The platform says it works with global partners to detect and remove violent content and continues to enforce its zero-tolerance policy. But critics point out that many harmful accounts remain live, and moderation hasn't kept up with the innovation of extremists. One thing is clear, the battlefield has moved from forests of Borno to the For You page of TikTok. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Garland and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. We begin with the latest on ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. US President Donald Trump held a 2-hour-long phone call with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. The talks focused on ending the war in Ukraine. After the discussion, Trump said that the two sides would begin ceasefire talks immediately, as the Russian president has also agreed to work on a possible peace treaty. However, he has not agreed to an immediate ceasefire.